I'm Caitlin Slocum, and this is my presentation on Naturalistic Reflection. Who and where was the interview on? I chose to interview my grandma. She is Hispanic, and she's 65 years old. She is reported to have a Catholic background, and that goes back for generations. At the time I interviewed her, she does have a higher income, but she was not raised in a high-income household. What shaped her? She reported that having a Catholic-based home really shaped her. Having that kind of background was able to give her morals, values, and whatnot of different standards. She felt as though her parents had much higher standards than most others did because they were pretty strict Catholics. And not only that, she also grew up in the Hispanic household. So that brings on cultural factors and traditions. So with cultural factors, her parents very well believed that she should not live with a man or be with a man before marriage, which also ties into her religion factor. For education, she made it through high school, graduated, but never pursued college because at the time when she was growing up, they didn't need really any degrees to get good jobs. They were able to walk in, apply, and basically learn off a trade. Some traditions that they went through in their family were they always had family dinners. They always had cleaning days. So for example, they would use Sunday for a cleaning day and Wednesday for a shopping day. Those were just their own personal family traditions, and that also could be related to the Hispanic background as well, I think. So, integrity or despair. She feels like she lives a life through integrity. She doesn't look back on her life and regret anything. She feels like she lived a great life. She accomplished what she wanted to do, and she's still accomplishing more and more things. Coping with loss of parents. For her, this was the hardest thing she had to cope with. Of course, she'd lost grandparents, she's lost friends, but losing her own parents was a very significant struggle and milestone in her life. She reported that it was lonely, hard, she was scared, and the worst thing about it is they both happened within the same year. Not only that, but within the same couple months. Out of all her siblings, she says she was one of the closest ones to her parents, even though they didn't always see eye to eye. But when it came to actually losing them, it was the hardest thing that she had to deal with. And it led her into a dark time for a little bit. So, some coping skills that she used and found that worked as much as they could were patience, not isolating. She found humor again, improved on her hobbies, and she didn't forget about God. She knew she had to use patience because time takes so much to heal. She can't isolate herself because then she's going to fall deeper into a depression. And with those friends that she surrounded herself with, she found humor. She made her own little light. Her hobbies included sewing and crafting at the time. So her sister basically started getting into sewing with her and just being there with her, working on projects so she didn't feel alone. And most of all, she didn't forget God during this time. She prayed to God every single day, and every single time I see my grandmother, before she goes to bed, she always says a rosary. How did religion affect her life? Well, as you can tell, it had a major impact on her. Her morals and values are, well, they might be different than others because of the standards she sets herself to. She reports that it holds her marriage together a lot of times, and it's comfort for her. It holds her marriage together because of the fact that it's based on God. Whenever they argue and fight, it's all put to God. He is also the comfort in her life. If she thinks she's going through a hard time or she's feeling upset about something, he is her best friend. He helps her not sink down again. So, what are my new perspectives? This one's not necessarily new, but it's just a great reminder to always have. And that's always to keep God in my life. Another one is to not isolate whenever times get rough and no matter what I think is going on. Also, people will continue to grow emotionally and spiritually. This kind of stuff doesn't stop at a certain age like our physical growth. People develop different emotions over time. They develop different spirituality. They develop different things like that. And they also grow in their faith, which can lead to different changes in how you see things in the world. And one I really love is that aging isn't a bad thing. In my perspective, I used to think that getting old was just awful. I didn't want to age, I didn't want to be stuck at home or lose my independence, but it's not always that way. You keep yourself healthy and good and with God, and you're going to have strength. These are my references. Thank you for listening.